I thought today what would be fun is to talk about voice, specifically AI voice. It's an area I was like, I want to play around with that and try it out. So I'm going to share what I found with all of us, and we'll talk a little bit about Temporal in the mix. Anybody using any kind of voice agent or voice AI right now? All right, I see a few people. Cool. Well, you may be able to help me more than what I've already learned, but let's talk. What the reason why I picked this in particular to dive into is because um, a lot has been going on around the voice space in particular over the years. Closed caption in particular, I think, was like when we started to see some changes there when you would speak and you'd see closed caption automatically coming up on the screen. Um, but the reality is, I think we're starting to see an inflection point where it's much more robust in its functionality for what voice and AI voice is going to look like in the long term. We're seeing, because of the agentic systems and the MCPs, the ability for these voice agents to take actions and engage with you in much more realistic ways than we've ever seen before. And I know we all have probably heard examples of this out there, good and bad. But I know, for example, something that I was looking into last year in particular was around how to deal with pre-authorizations that still required you to make phone calls and fill out a form after the fact, after you did the call and got the information. And we're starting to see that these kinds of things can be achievable with the types of tools that are coming around. I put up on a list, a grouping of the kinds of tools that are out there to just get some context around how you can think about them. I have no doubt there's a ton more tools that exist, but these are some of the ones that came into my scope of awareness. And, like I said, the closed caption you can think about in terms of STT, speech to text. But I think what's more interesting nowadays is this native conversational AI where you speak and it understands what you've said and it can respond as well with audio. So that's and it's an end-to-end audio type of option. And then these larger orchestration systems that are using more of like combined, they're building out the systems that are able to do a lot of processing for, the audio and other functionality. So I thought, hey, cool. I know, toy problem, but still, I love D&D. If you don't know D&D, it's a game that you get to play with your friends. You can get to play pretend, and there's a lot of rules. There's some level of fighting and some level of rolling dice. But I love doing it, and I thought, let me grab an existing campaign that's super simple. You can run it in a few hours, and create these two agents that are going to engage and play the campaign. And the campaign idea is that you have a sheep that's been, you have a wizard that's been made into a sheep, and it's being followed by a bunch of goons. And these two people are in a tavern. A sheep walks into a tavern.
O strings drawn, eyes up. Sheep don't run into taverns for fun. I'll cover the door, you figure out why the woolly one's making a scene. And keep your weapon handy. We're not alone.
My weapon is always handy, dear Lyra, for chaos is my truest companion.
Then let's show chaos it can't outsmart a couple of sharp blades and sharper minds.
Indeed, my dear Lyra, and this woolly one is certainly a puzzle worthy of my most explosive insights.
I did one that's native, where it's an audio to audio. There's no actual like text conversion, and another one that is text to speech. And I was using GPT in particular for the native to see what that looked like, as well as Gemini for creating the text that then it would feed into OpenAI to create the actual audio. I actually played around with a couple different options on here, but I kept running out of credits. That's a different problem I had to solve for, and I'll deal with that at a later time. I will share this later and try to post this out on our invite at some point. But yeah, I was kind of developing that today. What did I do with Temporal here? Well, what I did with Temporal in particular was I wrapped it up to make it durable so that if it fell over during gameplay, it would pick up where it left off. And what I want to show you, there we go. This is an example where I was playing the game and it was running a workflow. And you'll see here, for example, that with Temporal, the way it was built out is that if it hit up against a 409 error from like Google's API, instead of it falling over, each of those little green lines, for example, that are showed here, as they step forward for it in the timeline, is it saying, hey, go back and try again on this ask from Google's API because I didn't get the actual answer I was looking for the voice. So try that again for me. And it's doing it on my behalf without me having to ask it to do that because I've built out the workflow and the workers and the activities. If you want to know more about how that's built, I can show you later, or we can talk about it more after this demo. But ultimately, voice is interesting. I think we should play around with it. I think you should be aware of it. I think you should be exploring the space. If you want me to show you again that little table I did of all the different voice types of tools that are out there, I'm happy to show that too. I've also listed the resources so you can see which ones I pulled up and used for this demo. We will have replay, which Melissa already mentioned. So if you want to get 85% off of our upcoming conference that's in May, use Melissa's code. But you're more than welcome to use my code if you run out of being able to use Melissa's code. And if you want to build agentic agents and systems and use our tools, please feel free to check us out. I think that's it. Thanks.